This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. It's the bottom of the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Holly, would you take roll, please?
Wendy Hess, Travis Solom,
Here.
Bridget Edson,
Present, representing EMS.
Mindy Benson,
Mindy Benson, present, representing Iowa Emergency Management Association.
Michelle Bischoff,
Present, representing Iowa Pro Chiefs.
Curtis Wilton,
Present, representing volunteer fire departments.
David Ness,
Here, Municipal Police.
Dan Schaefer,
Present, Municipal Police.
Dan Fank,
Senator Green.
Rhonda Broaddus, Cindy Hike,
Yes, I'm here.
Daniel Brown,
Present, representing Iowa Department of Transportation.
Michael Strausser, or Matt Bruner.
SCNL. I took that. Okay. What I want you to do.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Is Michael Strausser or Matt Bruner on? Heath Hove,
Here, Iowa Department of Public Safety.
Patrick Updike,
Patrick Updike, present, Iowa Department of Corrections.
Blake Jerushi,
Present, representing the Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
and Jessica Turba. Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Right.
Hey,
Thank
this
you,
is
Holly.
Rhonda. I came in late. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are there any other board members that joined late? Great, thank you. And are there any legislative members on the line?
Yes, Senator Green.
Thank you for attending, Senator Green. Appreciate it. Are there any others? Great, thank you. Appreciate everyone's time. We're also appreciate everyone being flexible and as we took precautions against the weather to just have this morning's meeting held online. So appreciate your flexibility in that. And with that, we'll move to approve today's agenda. There is one amendment that we need to make because of the virtual meeting as opposed to a physical meeting, and that is item 18, B, C, and D, awarding the certificates to the individuals that have achieved the various levels of communication certification. We will award those at our next physical meeting. So I'll entertain a motion with that amendment and any other amendments.
Ness,
I
second.
motion to move into the next meeting.
I have a motion and a second. I believe it was Ness that seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was first on that?
I'm sorry?
Who was first?
Oh, sorry. This is Rhonda.
Okay.
That works. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Approving the minutes from the January 12th meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Ness moves.
Wilton second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to the SWIC report.
Thank you, Chair Bischoff.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Great, thanks. Thanks, everybody. This is going to be my first SWIC report, as I've been in the job for 1 month now. The first thing I'd like you to bring your attention to is the state and territory interoperability markers review from fiscal year 21 to 22. That is also included in today's documents. This was presented to me on behalf of ECC Myers and was included, like I said, in the documents today. It's a tool in facilitating awareness of interoperability issues and resources to meet our goals. And if you scroll down just a little bit, Holly, you can see that no markers decreased over this time period, while 8% showed improvements from the prior year. We now have a draft of version 1 of our Iowa Tactical Interoperability Communications Plan, which has also been included in the documents for today's meeting. When that's adopted, Iowa will hit marker 10. And in the coming months, we'll have a field operations guide developed, which that was sent to me this morning, so I will be sending it out to the board to review also, and then we will meet marker 11. The positive state of the markers in this document is a testament to the work of my predecessor Chris Myers and this board that they have done to advance interoperability in Iowa. It will be a standard that I continue to hold myself to, and I will work to maintain and improve on this assessment in the following years that I'm in this position. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, a draft of the statewide Tactical Interoperable Communications Plan, or TICP as it's often referred, has been developed thanks to comprehensive emergency communications planning and ECD provided by Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. It's a big document, over 150 pages, I believe, so we won't go through every line, but we would like the board to review this and submit edits back to me so that in the near future, maybe at the next board meeting or whenever we're able, we can adopt that. It is the procedures in the plan utilize and build upon the interoperability standards adopted by the Isicsb board and existing SOPs with participating agencies. Any necessary edits, like I said, can be sent my way, and I will send it on to those who are creating that for us. Moving on, I would like to thank Carroll County for being a willing participant and to CISA for their assistance in the ORAP, or Operational Resource Allocation Plan, that happened last month. It's focused on emergency medical services and healthcare. CISA will be providing a report for review, and that will be beneficial to state stakeholders in the future. I was involved in a meeting with CISA and Homeland Security and others in Iowa to discuss extreme weather events and their impact on communications. It was an information gathering meeting, and it seemed like Iowa had done well in the last few extreme weather events, from derechos, tornadoes, and severe winter weather. Joined a cross-border interoperability discussion with Minnesota. They have created a standard for their statewide platform and interoperability with Isicsb on the bordering counties. I would like to thank Minnesota for including all the participants in that discussion. It was very beneficial, I think. We had an outreach event held in Emmett County on February 1st, providing information and training on Isicsb. There was a good turnout. The Sheriff's Office was there, Estherville Police Department was represented, the schools, and a couple of medical facilities. I'm very grateful that Sergeant Duden and Comms Manager Erpelding were able to attend with me and provide helpful information to that group. I am currently working on the registration and will be posting the Audio Gateway TA course registration this week. That course is being held April 18th and 19th here at DPS Ornpate Building. I will also work to get the ComL registration up, so there's plenty of time to register for that May 22nd through 25th course. I will get it on our website and put it out in the Iowa NCIC calendar and push it to those supervisor groups, and hopefully they can forward that on. I would like to take a moment to thank the board for the warm welcome that I've had in this last month. I've been given much support in my first few weeks, and thanks to the DPS team for getting me settled in and trained up on procedure and radio technology. Scott, Dave, and Chad have been very patient with me. Deputy Stuart Walser and ECC Myers have answered all of my phone calls and emails to provide guidance, and Holly Davidson is doing lots of work behind the scenes daily to make all this come together. So thank you very much for all the help so far and in the future, which I know I will need. That ends my report unless there's any questions for me.
Great. Thank you, Swick Nichols. Appreciate the report and welcome aboard once again. Are there any questions for Swick Nichols? All right, hearing none. 911 Council Report, Program Manager Darushi.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, the 911 Council meets just prior to the Isicsb meeting. So if you're intently interested in 911 matters, that would be the place to go. And those meetings are posted on YouTube for viewing after the fact. So a couple of the highlights from that meeting today. The Telecommunicator Training Board has worked for a number of months to develop a training survey to address the 40-hour basic telecommunicator course at ILEA. That survey is open until February 20th, and we're really wanting broad participation on that. So we want to hear from all kind of levels of telecommunicators, supervisors, line dispatchers, to get a broad range of input to hopefully help improve that course. So if you have not seen that, please reach out to me and I will get you the link to that survey. Also, next week we have 2 training opportunities, Monday afternoon as well as Tuesday morning, and that is for a cyber awareness webinar with our friends at CISA. It really is developed for PSAP supervisors. It's not going to be, something that you need to have your IT specialists there with you. It really is kind of geared towards, again, PSAP supervisors and help you know which questions to ask of your IT specialist. So we did offer that about 3 years ago. Of course, as cyber continues to be at the forefront of everyone's mind, we wanted to take the opportunity and offer that course again. We also approved 2 training courses with the 911 training funds. First, the Iowa Fall Conference, which is saving lives on both sides of the call, as well as training requests from Cerro Gordo County. That's actually for 3 different courses over the course of 3 days through the Healthy Dispatcher. Those courses are the Power of Resilience, the Emotionally Intelligent Comm Center, and Effective Supervision. So that concludes my brief. I would take any questions if there are any.
Great, thank you, Blake. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any questions for Blake? User Group Committee, Vice Chair Denner.
Good morning, Rob Dennert. We met just earlier this week. We had some troubles with coordinating a date in January. 9 applications were reviewed. That'll be up for consideration later in the agenda. Other than that, the RIC committees all reported out, or 1 through 4 reported at least. The active ones of their recent activities, not much to report there.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the User Group Committee and Vice Chair Dennert? Finance Committee, Swick Nichols.
Okay, our monthly net expenditures, as you can see here, are $10,063.62. And ending balance, funds available, $205,208.87. Nothing really of note to report. It's just a normal financial report this month. unless there are any questions.
Hearing none, we'll move into the Governance Committee, which is also Swick-Nichols.
Governance met on February 6th and just held a regular meeting. There was discussion on a pilot program with the National Weather Service. I believe an email has been circulating from National Weather to the PSAPs asking about the NAWAS phones and how reliable they are, the need for those. So if you've seen that email or if you have some information on that, send an email out to Chad Hahn with National Weather. And then there was also some discussion on emergency managers across the state, being on Isicsb and participating in these radio tests that are being held. So Mindy Benson is interested in working to get more emergency managers to join and then be involved in those radio tests. And I will work with her to just make sure that anybody who's interested has the assistance they need from us. And that was all that was discussed. I'll take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Swick-Nichols. Any questions regarding governance? Operations is next, and the Operations Committee did have a meeting on February 1st. It was a discussion regarding the work that technology is doing on means in which we can best address the request that operations has received and has been discussed about discipline-specific encryption and looking at how we might manage that and what the options of that, I guess the options that are available to us, and then when we'll work towards implementation. So just continuing that conversation regarding encryption. Are there any questions for me regarding operations? Outreach Committee, Robbie Johansson. Is Robbie on the line?
Haley. This is Haley. I'll take that one. We met on January 23rd. Just a very quick meeting. Discussion was held on the newsletter. We're interested in making sure that that's beneficial to everybody and it's full of information that is useful. So send Holly Davidson any topics you wish to see included, and we would take any recommendations for what needs to be in it. The next Outreach Committee meeting will be held February 27th. I'll take any questions.
Great, thank you. And we will stick with you for the Training Committee.
Thank you very much. Training met on January 25th. We had a nice group. We talked about moving our monthly meeting, and that will now occur on the fourth Thursday of the month at 11 o'clock. Please join if you're interested. The committee reviewed the goals, objectives, and benefits as outlined in the Communications Interoperability Plan, or the SKIP, in preparation for review and edits this year. And the group continued work on and pretty much finished up the script and slide deck for the statewide pursuit standard 1.4.0. I sent it out to some comms managers and it looks like it's pretty much complete. Next, we will work on getting it recorded. Aaron Froning is going to try to find time to do that. The next meeting now will be held February 23rd at 11 a.m. and I'll take any questions.
Great, thank you so much. Technology, Vice Chair Updike.
Good morning. The Technology Committee met on January 26th. The one wasn't able to have our meeting on the 7th of February because of some scheduling issues here locally, but quick update on some things. We're still gathering information on as it relates to gateways within the state of Iowa, and also working with DOT on their low power itinerant frequency topic that we've discussed over the last couple of months. Holly, can I share my screen?
Yes, just a second.
I'm going to expand upon what Chair Bischoff was talking about as it relates to discipline-specific encryption. Hopefully the chair of the technology committee doesn't mess this up. So can you all see this NIFOG handbook?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just a second. Where the heck did it go? Okay.
Good to go?
I think so. Can everyone else see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So we've been talking about discipline-specific encryption in three different manners, two off-system methods and one on-system method. We haven't addressed the on-system Isicsb discipline-specific encryption because we wanted to go after the low-hanging fruit here, which was one, what you're seeing is the NIFOG handbook. And what you have here, the idea was to pick a couple of frequencies out of the NIFOG handbook for general public safety, which is, as you can see, 7TAC 56D. And then for law enforcement, you can see that in the NIFOG handbook, you've got, well, I highlighted the wrong one, 7 Law 62D. So that makes it easy for users who may not want to be on the system in a close quarters event for using encryption. So you've got this frequency for law and 56D for general public safety. So that is an option for users to go for. Should it require state, local, and federal entities to work together. And so now the question is okay, what SLN are we going to use for those frequencies? And so when you go down here to, what is this, page 78 of the NIFOG, you can see that SLN 6 is set aside for all federal, state, and local law enforcement. So what we would do is we would suggest that SLN 6 be used for encryption on law, the 62D frequency. And then as you scroll down the page here, you've got all federal, state, and local public safety, which would be assigned an AES, SLN of 12 for AES 256 encryption. So that information was pushed to operations to have them explore that from an operational standpoint. And then the next idea that we proposed was to, and can you see this ICS 217A form?
We do not.
Okay. You still, okay, let me go back here and see.
We're still seeing the NIFOG.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll have you open it up again. Okay, here we go. Now can you see it?
Yes.
So at the bottom of this screen is, you'll see the 7 ITOC 1D, 2D, 3D. these are all licensed frequencies within the state of Iowa for scene of action type use. So what we proposed and sent to operations was that we would reuse these frequencies, NAC codes and all, but we would rename them. We would keep these intact, okay, listed as 7I Talk 1, 2, and 3D. But we would relist them again with a different name that would demonstrate encryption use for public safety and law enforcement. And so since we have 3 existing SLNs within the state here that were assigned to us by NLAC, our idea was to separate that out by discipline and let operations come up with their thoughts on how that should be done. So if this were to all go through the way I just explained it to you, those 3 frequencies would be listed as encrypted, but with different names. And then the purpose of that would be that it would force the user who has a handheld or mobile device, they wouldn't be able to just switch their radio on one channel from in the clear to encryption. They would physically have to rotate the dial or go to that zone, whatever it may be, where the encrypted channel is. So that's it for as far as that goes, and we're going to continue to work on the on-system discipline-specific encryption, but we've been tackling this issue first and foremost because it's the easiest right now. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the explanation. Are there any questions for Patrick? All right, next item is FirstNet Broadband Committee, and we have not met yet this month. We meet next week, so no report there. So that brings us to other reports and information sharing amongst the board. I did want to bring to everyone's attention that the Attorney General's office received a letter from Mid-American inquiring about the feasibility of them joining Isicsb at some capacity. We've had some internal conversations to ensure that it was within our purview to even allow it, or if it was a hard no from the get-go. It is within our purview, so the Attorney General's office is reaching back out to Mid-American to get more specifics so that we have a better understanding of what it is that they're seeking. At this point, it was just a very general, is it possible? So looking for more specifics to better understand what their intentions are. And as we learn more, we will keep the board appraised, and in all likelihood, there'll be some sort of subcommittee created to evaluate and explore this potential, and because there'll be lots of moving pieces to it, depending upon where this ends up. Lots of things to consider. So I think a subcommittee is the most appropriate way to deal with it. But as we learn more, we'll react appropriately and go from there. Are there any questions regarding that item? Excellent. Are there any other board members that would like to share information? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Isicsb System Administrator report. Connie Stuffelbeam. Is Connie on the call, or does someone have that report?
She is on here. Connie, can you hear us?
This is Haley. I can pull it up here. I have it in my email if I can find it quick.
Connie, you raised your hand, but we're unable to hear you. Haley, if you could go ahead if you have that report, that would be appreciated.
Sure, yeah. Scott Richardson sent me the Isicsb numbers for January 2023. We have 32,014 radios on the system. That's up 257 from the month prior. And then we have talk groups, 2,872, which is up 5 from December 2022, and push to talks, 2,182,158, which is down 77,627 from December 2022. And that concludes that report.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions regarding the system administrator report?
This is Captain Pierce. Sorry,
Hello.
I reached out to Connie, and she can hear you all, but for some reason she's having technical difficulties, and it's not picking up her replies. So
okay.
She's going to try to log out and log in again. So
okay.
if not, then we'll probably have to catch up next month.
Yeah, and I think Haley gave the report, at least the highlights of it. So I think we've got it covered. But if Connie's able to get joined in, Haley just gave basically the statistics. If she has anything to add, we'll certainly entertain that.
Thank you.
You bet. FirstNet Authority, John Olson.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Michelle. As a follow-up from our last meeting, the Authority and AT&T are moving forward with an engagement in Carroll County. We have a planning meeting again for that later this afternoon. We penciled in the target date as Monday, March the 13th, and I hope to have some information out to stakeholders in that area very soon. The Authority is always looking for opportunities for additional engagements in Iowa throughout the rest of the year. For example, we're going to be at the IEMSA conference in Des Moines in November. If there's anyone on the call that knows of any other local or regional type events that that we could be of value to, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. As the route has now been announced, the Authority will be partnering with AT&T on supporting public safety communications for RAGBRAI 2023. We'll be participating with our events planning staff at the kickoff meeting in April. And Michelle, unless there's any questions, that's all I have for this month.
Excellent. Any questions for the FirstNet Authority? AT&T, Tyler Richard.
Thanks, Michelle. We did have an additional site addition added to Harvey, Iowa, directly south of Pella, east of Knoxville. This is going to provide additional coverage to the Red Rock Dam and provide additional coverage to several FirstNet users in the area. That's the only macro site addition we had. However, I did receive our 2023 build-out plan, and we do have Andy Sackrider and myself and potentially a few others from the AT&T side attending next month's FirstNet subcommittee meeting to share some of those details regarding the 2023 macro site build-out plan and also some of the U.S. cellular roaming agreement changes that are coming down the pike. So more information to come on that next month. That is all for my report.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. Any questions for AT&T? All right, that brings us to the CISA update and Chris Myers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Super. Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you to the Isicsb board for the time today. It is always appreciated to be able to come here and present. My report for this month will be a little bit more abbreviated, but I do have some things to discuss. First, on the next slide, CISA did release a new document late in January. And on slide 2, you'll be able to look at the drone guidance document that was recently published and put out for public consumption. This document on slide 2 outlines a paper called Secure Your Drone. It's a privacy and data protection guidance. And the whole goal of this paper is to outline the facts, how drones could become easy targets by nefarious actors and persistent threats that could try to compromise individual privacy and operational mission sets with the use of drones. This paper provides numerous recommendations to protect your data and minimize privacy risks and operational components of the drone's flight before, during, and after the mission. This document also includes an overview of components that kind of aggregate and gather all the information that would possibly be exposed via Bluetooth or other types of wireless signals used to otherwise fly the drone that could be exploited by an adversary. This paper is available online for download. If you go to the CISA website and search Secure Your Drone, Privacy and Data Protection Guidance, you should be able to find it. I did send this out when it was released on the 27th, and so you may have already received it. If so, great. If you don't have it, you can reach out to your SWIC, Haley Nichols, or myself, and we will get you that document as soon as we can. On the next slide, I do want to touch again on the SAFECOM nationwide survey. The release of this survey has been somewhat delayed. Where we are in the process now is we're going through some data validation. The overall goal of the survey was to make sure that it reached as many stakeholders in rural America as possible. And as a part of that, we got a preview of some of the contacts that would be receiving a agency unique link for the survey, and some of the information was either missing or needed to be updated. So I've worked pretty closely with CISA to make sure that all of the agencies in Iowa that will be getting this survey have the opportunity to not only receive it, but take it. Historically, with the SAFECOM nationwide survey, we've gotten a lot of responses from large metropolitan areas because they have the staff available to take a survey such as this. However, as your SWIC mentioned before, with the ORAP delivery in Carroll County, there's a huge push to try to make sure that agencies like CISA are addressing the needs of rural communities across the country. And the more agencies we can get that have that rural focus to respond to this type of survey, the better. Again, the survey is used to make decisions that relate to products that CISA or DHS would output. It helps tailor programs and services that we deliver to your communities, and also it may actually be used as a source of information for funding decisions going forward for specific things like grants. In the past, this also has been reported out at congressional hearings, so there is a lot of mileage that's gotten out of this data. So I would encourage everybody that receives the link to please take it once it arrives. When it does arrive in your inbox, it may look like junk mail, but just verify that it comes from the sns@cisa.dhs.gov email address, and then put it through your normal parameters to verify that the email is legitimate, consistent with your cybersecurity policies, and then go forth and take the survey. And of course, if there's any questions on the survey, you can reach out directly to me and I will get you the information you need as quick as possible. On the next slide, there's some regional news of note for Iowa. There's a large event happening in Kansas City, Missouri in April. That is the NFL draft. And whether you or not you're a Chiefs fan, you may also be interested in the parade that may be taking place next week if they do indeed win the Super Bowl this weekend. One thing we are doing to provide support to the city of Kansas City is several communications focused courses. The COML is concluding today, but we are also offering 3 other courses that are available for participation in preparations for that event. Kansas City has been gracious enough to open these courses up for regional attendance, so feel free to sign up and attend these courses. Links to sign up are on my daily email. Of note, the Incident Communications Center Manager, or INCM training that's happening next week, is not a course that has often been delivered in Region 7, which includes the 4 states of Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. So if you do have an interest in taking that course, there are some seats that are still available, and your contacts for that would be Steve Hoskins from Kansas City PD, and they may be able to sneak you in at the last minute. So it's a good course. I highly recommend taking it if you have not taken it previously. You'll learn quite a bit from it. There's also the opportunity to have this delivered in Iowa in the future if you guys deem it necessary. One other thing that's coming up that is of note to the region is that we are working to deliver an Information Technology Service Leader, or ITSL, course in the state of Kansas. This is a course that has not previously been delivered to Region 7, and this will be the first delivery of that. That is happening in Wichita. The date has not yet been finalized, but we do have a rough location for it. If you have some technology-minded individuals that also serve your communications components during an incident, whether planned or not, this may be a good course for them to take as well. As far as I know, the course will likely have vacant seats. State of Kansas has not yet opted to open it up for regional attendance, but if they do, I will be in touch with the board here to make sure that you have awareness of it and to potentially give your people plenty of time to sign up. On the next slide, I do want to make the board aware of some leadership visits that will be coming up to Iowa from CISA leadership. The first visit will be happening in March. That'll be with the Region 7 Deputy Director, Ethan Cole. He plans on attending both the Iowa 911 Council and Isicsb board meetings, and I'm also going to take him on a tour of the Dallas County PSAP, Des Moines State Radio, and several communication sites so that the regional deputy director can get a sense of what it takes to make the emergency communications spectrum work from top to bottom, from technology to the people on the front lines. So he will be visiting in March, and then in April, the Central Sector Chief, Chris Essed, is planning on visiting both the 911 Council and the Isicsb board meetings. Iowa does a lot of things very well, and that's where the interest from leadership has come to attend your meetings. And they want to see how you do things, and potentially I could see a nexus for some best practices from Iowa to be delivered elsewhere, because Iowa has done some very good things when it comes to interoperable communications, whether it is coordination of resources that are in use via status board or what you've done with encryption. I was on a meeting earlier this week, and I know of at least a couple of other states that have borrowed what Iowa has done when it comes to secure interoperable communications and what you have done with encryption. So kudos to everybody that's a part of this space to make interoperable communication successful in Iowa. That is my report for the month, Madam Chair. I can go ahead and take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Information sharing framework update. My understanding is Blake is unable to give this update, but Captain Pierce is going to provide us an update. Captain Pierce? Holly, is Captain Pierce still on the line?
I thought he was. Yeah, he's on.
Yes, sorry about that.
There you are.
Yeah, I got that. I was tied into something else at the time. Are you looking
Yeah,
for an update for the GSSB? Is that what
for
the question was?
well, it was, I received a note from Blake saying that you were going to give an update on the information sharing framework.
Oh, okay. Yes, we had our meeting yesterday on the CAD system, like for the CAD exploratory group, and it was really good. We had 3 respondents, 3 vendors who had responded to our RFI that we sent out, and we're going to send out invitations to them eventually here for them to do presentations for us, and that'll be done through the OCIO's office. And but before then, we're going to reach out also to Rob Dew with CISA there in DC, so he can provide us maybe a pre-developed list that would be a good thing for what all CADs should have universally for what our long-term plan would be. Like DPS would love to have a new CAD system, but something that we could probably maybe build on and help expand at a future date. Once we have that, then we could potentially use that as a checklist for other future presentations if needed. Um, uh, that's pretty much where we're at right now with that. It's going to take a little bit to do that, and Um, and to get all that off the ground, probably looking about a 3-month period here for us to complete this segment of the task. In regards to the GSSB, can I go into that, or would you?
Absolutely. Nope. Go ahead.
Okay.
I skimmed the rest of the agenda. There's not a specific line item, and we're in other reports, so it seems appropriate. Go ahead.
Does anybody have any questions reference the CAD part of that? It's all still we're still very much in the information collection phase for that project. But in regards to the GSSB um, uh, Bureau progress on that, they're still developing how they're going to reach out to everybody. I've discussed with Don Schnichter, who is the bureau chief for the Governor's School Safety Bureau, about coming and doing a presentation here, possibly for our next Isicsb board meeting, and he can discuss a little bit about the bureau and how it'll work. He's also planning to send out an email to all sheriffs, chiefs of police, comm managers, and EMAs in the state to be able to do a bit of a preview for that. I know that there's been some changes to what some of their initial plans were to reach out and get like a universal email, but they've kind of changed that plan. I'm not really quite sure all the details for that, but I think that they're going to be reaching out and getting that contact information as they forward tips to all the different comm centers. And I think that he'll explain that whenever he conducts his briefing and whenever he sends something out to everybody as far as some written communications. And as far as our tip lines, for us to be able to take calls, Connie Stufflebeam and the team has done some robust testing, and all our all the network we set up telephonically is tested out very well. We had no problems, and they tried everything they could to break the system, but they couldn't. So I think that we're pretty good on that front. And I think that they're in the last phases of the development of the NAV 360 call taking program for the School Safety Bureau. Does anybody have any questions in regards to that? School safety? Anything that, any details? Okay, that would conclude both reports. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Captain. Appreciate it. That brings us to old business. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
Chair Bischoff?
Yes.
This is Connie Stufflebeam. I'm sorry I was having some technical
ma'am.
difficulties there. If you would allow me to take a couple more moments for some additional Isicsb system information.
Most certainly. Go right ahead.
Okay, I know there was challenges last month with the December report, so I'll give a little bit of both of them. The December 22 radios was sitting at 31,757 radios. That's up in January by 257 radios, giving us a total in January of 32,014 radios. The talk groups were also up in December. They were 2,867. January was 2,872. That's up 5. Push to talks in December was 2,257,785 push to talks, with January at 2,182,158. That was down 77,627. And to give you just a few statistics, at this time we have 4,954 radios on the system on 25 different with 25 different calls in process right now. Over the last 24 hours, we have had 54,613 voice calls, averaging 8.72 seconds over 1,157 different talk groups using 9,035 different IDs. We are also continuing some of the preventive maintenance. They're still doing some maintenance, and they're getting more of the maintenance scheduled. The preventive maintenance will be going and proceeding through the rest of the year and the spring and summer. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for Connie?
Thank you, Chair Bischoff, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've all been there. Thanks for working on figuring out a way to get through to us. Appreciate it. That does bring us to old business, of which there is none. Are there any questions regarding old business? Moving on to new business. New Isicsb user approval. Vice Chair Dennert.
Good morning again. Strap in, we got 9 applications here. The first is the Sheraton Valley Electrical Cooperative in Albia seeking level 2 access, asking for 2 talk groups, 22 radios. The user group does recommend approval with the concern though about licensing eligibility. As I've mentioned last month or so, there is the conversation beginning to happen about the different frequency pools that make up the Isicsb system and their eligibility requirements. We believe, though, from the UGC's perspective, we have recommended approval of these electrical cooperatives before. The caveat being that if we discover eligibility issues, that may affect that in the future.
Great, thank you. Do we want to handle these as a group, or is there any need to have a roll call on individual items?
Chair Bischoff, this is Patrick Updike. I'm going to request a roll call vote on this.
Okay. For each one, or do you need to just recuse yourself from particular ones?
Let's just do it as a group.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to let Rob go through and explain the rest of them.
Yeah, that's the way we've normally done it. So yeah, let Rob, if you could continue down the list.
Okay. The second is the Des Moines County Sheriff's Office in Burlington seeking level 2 access, 15 talk groups, 1 radio now, 5 radios within 24 months, 320 radios within 5 years. The UGC does recommend approval of this one, though, with one concern about the need for additional capacity in the future. 1 radio today, 5 radios in 24 months likely would not have a detrimental effect on grade of service, but 320 radios likely would. We did question, none of us on the UGC remember many amended participation agreements when subscriber quantities increased dramatically. So we really wondered the board's vision or how that would be handled in the future. That should we be evaluating these on their immediate request, but if they are documenting and anticipating a dramatic increase like that to 320 radios, should we be considering that now or look for an amendment in the future when more information is known?
Chair Bischoff, can I jump in here because this relates to the Department of Corrections as well?
Sure.
So, as you can see, Iowa Medical and Classification Center is involved with this too, and so from from our perspective, basically, you know, you can see that we're coming in as a level 2, and I'll let Rob continue with his presentation here, but the way I saw it was we're going to have to come back in later on to update our application to a level 3, possibly, you know, maybe even level 4, because it changes by location. And so I think the idea was to memorialize those caveats within this vote and recommendation that, yeah, there is the potential for adding channel capacity, but you're going to have to come back and update your application anyways. So I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of the way we were looking at it.
I think the only concern from the UGC's perspective was we appreciate DOC's commitment to recognizing the need for capacity. I'm not sure others have that same mindset. I'm not saying that they don't, but what ensures that applicants are being mindful of that in the future when they have significant increases in subscriber counts?
Yeah, this topic was something that Swick Nichols made me aware of, and she's doing some research to find out where, you know, what's in the MOU, what's in the letter that gets sent as a welcome to Isicsb, to ensure that there is language there that lets the subscribing agency aware of what had been approved and what their obligations are going forward. It's looking like there might be need for some cleanup to kind of tighten that up a little bit and make it more clear. But she's doing that legwork to ensure these concerns are addressed.
Okay.
But we don't have the answer right now. Was that Major Ness?
Yes, thanks. I don't have the precise answer either. I seem to recall in the application an allowance for like up to 10% or something like that, recognizing staffs of public safety entities will ebb and flow, but I think there was something similar to 10% that would require a new application. And I would guess in the meantime, while we're looking for methods to ensure that we're still staying abreast, or the system is aware of agency needs and loading. The system is managed on an everyday basis by the team, the system admin team, that is fully aware of the new people coming on the system and so forth. So I think in the meantime, while we make sure that our policies are up to date and actually being followed about future loading, I'm comfortable with I appreciate Medical Classification Center, for instance, giving their long-term vision as part of the application, and I certainly don't want to punish or discourage people from doing that. We may just need to tighten up a little bit to ensure that that follow-through is in fact occurring, would be my opinion.
Yep, and there's some checks and balances in the system as well in regards to radio IDs and what's been afforded to a given agency. So there are some checks and balances, and like you said, there is oversight by the system admin.
Chair Bischoff, I'd like to add one thing here.
Sure.
You know, until those topics are addressed, my suggestion is that when the motion is made to accept these groups, that it be noted in the motion that that there is a caveat, that there is future potential channel capacity, something of that nature, because then that part of it's memorialized in the record.
Okay.
And that was a bit how the UGC was approaching it too, and why I'm mentioning the concern about the need for additional capacity in the future. That somehow just acknowledging that at this point. Yeah.
Yep, seems very appropriate.
Okay,
Are there,
so that was Des Moines.
Are there any other comments, or can Rob continue down the list? Okay, Rob, go ahead and continue.
All right, that was Des Moines County. Next is Floyd County and Charles City, requesting level 1 for 2 radios now, anticipating 300 radios within 5 years. UGC recommends approval, again with the concern about need for additional capacity in the future. Any questions about Floyd? Next is the Henry County Sheriff's Office in Mount Pleasant, requesting level 3, which includes a core connected console, 10 talk groups, 2 radios now, 6 radios within 24 months, 20 within 5 years. UGC recommends approval with, again, the concern about need for additional capacity in the future. Questions about Henry County? Next is the Iowa Medical and Classification Center in Coralville. This is a Department of Correction Institute requesting level 2 access for what will be a total of 26 talk groups, but only 9 additional today, 12 radios today, anticipated over 300 within 5 years. A couple concerns with this one. The application is not signed. We need a signature on that application, or would recommend a signature on the application. Also, the concern about need for additional capacity. Patrick has spoken to that. We did run the numbers specifically on this one. It's about 50 radios where it'll begin to impact the greatest service of that Cedar Rapids site. So the IMCC will need to be very aware of that. Questions about
Rob,
IMCC?
This is Chair Nichols, and we did receive yesterday afternoon the signed copy of that, so that's taken care of.
Excellent.
Yeah, and if I may, I'd like to correct you on those numbers. We have 9 existing statewide talk groups, but we're maintaining a level of consistency by putting those 9 talk groups on all of our applications. So technically, IMCC is looking for 17 talk groups, but this is all part of the, pre-planning future for what they, if we were to jump on Isicsb. So the 9 existing talk groups that encompass the master control centers at the 9 facilities is primarily what they would be using on this application until that day would come that we would do a full-blown rollout on Isicsb with the, I don't know, what was it, 319 total radios, Rob?
307. That's right.
Okay.
The 9 are your existing 9, right?
Correct.
26 total. That delta is 17. Okay.
Correct.
Anything else about IMCC?
Nope. Thanks for letting me interrupt you.
The next is the State Center Police Department and State Center requesting level 2 access for 7, asking for 7 talk groups for 100 radios. UGC recommends approval. Questions about State Center? Of note there was the applicant is the police department, but they are applying for fire and EMS and the school district also, which was good in our opinion. Next one is the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. Best we could tell from the application, it appears to be the Cedar Rapids office requesting level 2 access, 1 talk group for 25 radios. UGC recommends approval. Questions about them? Next is Winnebago County Communications in Forest City. They are already approved at a level 3 user. They are amending their application, asking for 11 new talk groups for paging purposes. The fire and EMS departments up there are interested in deploying the Unication pagers and needed paging specific talk groups. UGC recommends approval of their amended application. Questions about them? Next is Winneshiek County Emergency Management and Decorah, seeking level 2 access, 4 talk groups, 50 radios now, 10 within 24 months, 30 within 5 years. UGC recommends approval. Questions?
Great. Thank you, Rob. Are there any questions for Rob regarding the 9 applications that are before us?
I know Rob cannot make the motion, but I would be interested in hearing his recommended language that he and Patrick were comfortable with pertaining to future growth. If he clarifies that language, I'd be happy to move.
Woughton would second that.
I think just a motion to approve the 9 applications with the concerns documented, and I can send my notes with those concerns. I think that ought to cover it.
And they specifically addressed Des Moines County and IMCC.
They were on actually more than that.
There were more.
The Sheraton one had the concern about licensing eligibility. Des Moines had capacity. Floyd County had capacity. Henry County had capacity. IMCC had capacity. They were the ones that had significant, this 300 radios, much more than the 10% allowance.
All right. If the group is accepting, I'll amend that motion to reflect Rob's verbiage and let that stand. Woughton, are you comfortable still seconding that?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Can we do a roll call, Chair Bischoff?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. You had asked for a roll call, and I neglected that. Holly, will you do a roll call, please? Thank you for stopping me, Patrick. Holly?
Oops, sorry. I was muted. Travis Solemn.
Aye.
Bridget Edson. Bridget's still on. Mindy Benson.
Aye.
Michelle Bischoff.
Aye.
Curtis Woughton.
Aye.
David Ness.
Aye.
Dan Schaefer.
Aye.
Dan Fank.
Aye.
Rhonda Broadus.
Aye.
Cindy Hike.
Aye.
Daniel Brown.
Aye.
Matt Bruner. I thought he was on. Heath Hove.
Aye.
Patrick Updike.
Abstain.
Blake Jerushi.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you all very much for that. As mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, we have amended the agenda not to cover B, C, and D, as we will do that the next time we are physically together and able to present those certificates. Congratulations to those members. That brings us to public comment. Is there any public comment? There's a raised hand. David?
Good morning. Just a couple of comment and a couple questions. I think from the Iowa standpoint, y'all are doing a pretty good time, pretty good set up, trying to get everything situated. I echo the SZA gentleman about how Iowa sets everything up. Outstanding. A couple of questions. One question being is this board going to work with setting up communications with Ragbri? And the other question is anybody looking at the digital side, not necessarily radio, but like cell or something of that nature? As I was hearing everybody on number 18, with the capacity standpoint, maybe offloading some of the radio traffic to a cell traffic. Thank you.
David, could you identify yourself as last name and who you're with, an agency or?
Actually, I'm a private citizen from David Eberle, Eberle.
Great, thank you, David.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate your questions. As was reported, the FirstNet Authority and AT&T will be working with the RegBri teams in various locations throughout the state as that route is determined. I know that overnight cities have been announced, and I'm not sure if the route's been announced yet or not. But yes, we work very closely with the RegBri, particularly the overnight cities as well as pass-through cities, to ensure that all of their FirstNet communication needs are met. And your question in regards to the moving radio traffic to cellular, that's really a jurisdictional decision, less of a board decision as to how that traffic, which system it traverses. It kind of comes down to the hardware that the individual agencies provide to their members. Does that address your question?
It does, Madam Chair. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't exactly sure how that shakes out / falls in the jurisdictional side, just to understand that type of thing.
Yep. You bet. Happy to entertain your questions and educate where we can. Are there any other board members that wish to address David's questions?
Michelle, I know you mentioned the FirstNet assist across the state with Ragbri, but it's heavy on the radio side too, if that wasn't clear to David.
Oh yeah, yes. That DPS helps with ensuring that radio coverage is also available through the course of the route. Yeah, thanks for that, Major. Appreciate that. Is there any other public comment? All right, hearing none. Thank you all for your time. Greatly appreciated, and we'll set adjourn.